Every creative project starts with excitement. The brief is clear, the vision is strong, and the client seems aligned. Then it happens. Revision number 1. Revision number 4. Revision number 7. Suddenly the project is no longer creation, it's negotiation, firefighting, and emotional fatigue. Ever felt your creativity slowly dying after the 7th, small revision? You start with a clear vision, but each new change request chips away at your energy, your momentum, and your confidence. The problem isn't the client, it's the lack of structure. When revisions go unchecked, even the best creative minds lose their flow. But here's the truth. Revisions are not the enemy. Unmanaged revisions are. This is where project management becomes your secret weapon. When you know how to control feedback loops like a project management genius, you protect your creativity, your timeline, and your sanity. By mastering feedback cycles, setting boundaries, and controlling scope, you can protect your creative flow and turn revision chaos into a clean, predictable system. Creativity doesn't need freedom, it needs clarity. And today, you'll learn how to take it back. 1. Freeze the scope before you start. Before the first pixel is drawn, the first word is written, or the first concept is sketched, you must lock the scope like a vault. Creative projects fail not because people are unskilled, they fail because the goalpost keeps moving. Clients often come with enthusiasm, ideas, and inspiration, but without boundaries, that enthusiasm quickly mutates into confusion and endless revisions. Freezing the scope means defining exactly what you're delivering and, equally important, what you're not. You outline deliverables, formats, number of concepts, number of revision rounds, deadlines, and approval points. You clarify what counts as a correction, what counts as a change, and what is officially new scope. When the scope is frozen early, two things happen. First, you protect your creative energy, because you know exactly what you're building. Second, clients feel more secure, because you've created a clear, predictable path from concept to delivery. A frozen scope isn't about limiting creativity, it's about creating a safe container where creativity can actually breathe, grow, and flourish without being destroyed by constant reinterpretation. It's the difference between working confidently and endlessly reacting. Freeze the scope, protect the flow, and the entire project becomes easier, faster, and dramatically more successful. Just a reminder, before the first sketch, UI draft, or script line, define what will be delivered, what is not included, how many revision rounds exist, what counts as a revision versus new scope. Scope is a contract. Creativity lives inside boundaries. 2. Give clients a structured feedback template. Most revision chaos isn't caused by bad clients, it's caused by bad feedback. When you leave feedback open-ended, clients respond with whatever comes to mind. Emotions, guesses, personal preferences, contradictory opinions, or vague statements like, make it more powerful but softer, modern but classic, simple but detailed. This isn't because they're difficult. It's because they don't know how to give actionable creative feedback. That's why you must guide them. A structured feedback template turns random comments into clear, organized input that you can actually work with. A powerful template includes 4 simple categories. What they like anchors the direction. What they don't like eliminates wasted guesswork. What is unclear prevents misunderstandings later. What must change versus what is optional separates essentials from personal whims. By giving clients a clean structure, you're not restricting them. You're protecting the project from chaos, rewrites, and contradictory demands. You also show leadership. You become the expert who moderates, guides, and translates their ideas into reality. This one step alone can reduce revision cycles by 50% or more, because suddenly the feedback is specific, organized, prioritized, and aligned with the frozen scope. Structure doesn't limit creativity, it liberates it from noise. To finalize, people give chaotic feedback because they don't know how to give good feedback. Create a simple structure. What they like, what they don't like, what is unclear, what must change versus optional. Nice to have. This prevents revision floods like, can we make it more modern but also classic but also colorful but also minimalist? 3. Never deliver too many options. One of the fastest ways to trigger revision chaos is by overwhelming clients with choices. When creatives send 5, 6, or 10 different versions, the client doesn't feel empowered, they feel lost. Too many options create decision fatigue, and when clients can't decide, they start mixing elements, contradicting themselves, or asking for a version between version 2, 4, and maybe a bit of 6. Suddenly, you're no longer designing. You're surviving. Clients come to you because they want expertise, not endless possibilities. When you send too many options, you accidentally transfer the burden of decision-making back onto them. And confused clients always respond the same way: more revisions. The professional approach is simple. Deliver one strong, well-justified recommendation plus one thoughtful alternative, not a gallery. This sends a powerful message. I've done the strategic thinking. Here is the best solution. What you're doing is removing the uncertainty that fuels revision cycles. You eliminate the temptation for clients to combine everything, and instead, you guide them toward clear alignment and faster approval. Less choice doesn't reduce creativity, it focuses it. It transforms you from a service provider into a trusted expert who leads the creative journey rather than reacting to it. To sum up, more options equals more confusion equals more revisions. Deliver a strong recommendation plus one backup option. You are the expert. Clients want clarity, not chaos. 4. Set a feedback deadline. Uncontrolled timelines are silent killers of creative energy. When clients can send feedback whenever, your entire workflow collapses into unpredictability. You lose your rhythm, you lose your focus, and you enter the worst possible creative state: waiting mode. Waiting drains more energy than working. This is why every professional creative or project manager must establish a clear, non-negotiable feedback deadline. Not to pressure the client, but to protect the project. A structured deadline such as, please submit all feedback within 48 hours, or, revisions must be consolidated by Friday 1700, does three critical things. It prevents revision drift. Feedback that arrives late always arrives with new ideas, new demands, and new interpretations. Deadlines keep it tight and manageable. It keeps the project momentum strong. Momentum is everything in creative work. Deadlines keep you moving forward instead of constantly re-entering old work mentally and emotionally. It sets a professional tone. You're not available 24/7. You're not a background process waiting for input. You're a creator with a workflow, and clients respect that when you set boundaries confidently. A feedback deadline is not restrictive, it's protective. It ensures that revisions happen in clean, predictable cycles rather than random, disruptive bursts. When clients know there is a timeline, they consolidate their thoughts, align internally, and deliver clear feedback. Deadlines don't kill creativity. They preserve it by shielding your energy from constant interruptions. Finally, uncontrolled timelines kill creativity. Say, feedback is due within 48 hours. Late feedback may extend the delivery timeline. You are not a revision machine. You are a creative professional with a workflow. 5. Use a revision counter. One of the biggest reasons clients request endless changes is simple: they think revisions are unlimited. When there's no visible boundary, feedback becomes casual, unfiltered, and never-ending. A revision counter solves this instantly, not by restricting creativity, but by creating awareness. A revision counter is a clear rule you communicate at the very beginning of the project. This project includes X revision rounds. Additional changes will be billed separately. This single sentence completely transforms client behavior. Suddenly, feedback becomes more thoughtful, more organized, more consolidated, more respectful of your time. Clients stop sending random midnight thoughts, last-minute ideas, or emotional "I just felt like changing it again" messages, because they now understand every revision has a value. There's also a psychological effect. When people know they have limited attempts, they become much more strategic about using them. They think before they speak. They plan before they request. You stop drowning in micro-edits and instead receive structured, high-quality feedback. But the revision counter does more than protect your schedule, it protects your mindset. You stop living in revision limbo. You know exactly how many cycles exist, and you can design your creative process around them. It doesn't limit creativity. It limits chaos. And in professional creative work, that's what keeps quality high and burnout low. As final, tell the client, this project includes 2 revision cycles. Additional changes fall under extra scope. Magic happens. Suddenly clients become very careful with their feedback. 6. Define what approval means. One of the biggest traps in creative work is fake approval. When a client says, looks good, today, but tomorrow comes back with 7 more changes. This doesn't happen because they are malicious. It happens because approval was never clearly defined as a final checkpoint. Without definition, approval becomes a soft suggestion instead of a professional commitment. You must make approval a point of no return. At the start of the project, you need to communicate. Once the client approves a stage, that stage is locked. Any changes afterward are new scope and may impact cost and timeline. This single rule protects your workflow, your schedule, your mental clarity, and your entire creative momentum. Approval must be explicit, not implied. Not, I think it's good. Not, looks fine for now. Not, we can move on and adjust later. Real approval is checkmark, a deliberate confirmation, checkmark from the final decision maker, checkmark stating the work is accepted as delivered, checkmark, and the project moves permanently to the next stage. When clients understand the finality of approval, they review more carefully. They involve all internal stakeholders earlier. They consolidate feedback. They stop random backtracking that destroys your timeline. And most importantly, you stop being pulled back into old work, losing hours or days trying to just tweak something that you already completed perfectly. Clear approval protects the integrity of your creative process. Because creativity is forward motion, and constant rewinding kills your flow. To conclude, the biggest trap: we approved, but can you just change 7 more things? Approval must be a point of no return. Once approved, right pointing arrow, you move on. Any changes after this become extra cost plus timeline impact. 7. Protect your creative flow. Your creativity is not an infinite resource. It's not a tap you can open every time a client changes their mind. Creative flow is a fragile state, a quiet alignment of clarity, focus, energy, and inspiration. And every unplanned revision, unclear message, or late feedback request hits that flow like a hammer. You lose momentum. You lose emotional connection with the work. You lose the mental thread that made the idea powerful in the first place. That's why protecting your creative flow isn't a luxury, it's a project management strategy. Creative projects aren't just tasks. They're cognitive transitions. When you re-enter old work repeatedly, your brain pays a heavy cost: context switching, frustration, and idea fatigue. This is exactly why structured revision cycles, frozen scope, clear approval, and deadlines matter. They don't just organize the project, they protect your mind from unnecessary depletion. When your creative flow is protected, your work becomes sharper, faster, and significantly more original. Your energy stays intact. Your confidence stays high. You create with purpose, not with exhaustion. And clients feel the difference, because protected creativity produces better outcomes, in less time, with fewer revisions. Remember, you are not a revision engine. You are a creator. Your flow is your real asset, and the smarter your system, the stronger your creativity becomes. Summary: creative energy is not infinite. Every unplanned revision costs you. Momentum, focus, inspiration, emotional energy. Structure is not just about efficiency. It's about protecting your ability to create your best work. Endless revisions can destroy your creativity, drain your energy, and derail your timeline. With above given 7 items, you can structure revision rounds, control scope creep, manage difficult clients, and build a feedback system that keeps your creativity strong and your projects on track. Client revisions are not a threat, unmanaged revisions are. When you control scope, guide feedback, limit options, set deadlines, define approval, and protect your creative flow, you transform chaos into a clean, predictable system. Creativity becomes lighter. Projects move faster. Clients respect you more. And you finally work from a place of clarity instead of exhaustion. Mastering revisions isn't just about delivering better work, it's about defending the environment where great work is born. Call to action: if you want to protect your creativity, avoid burnout, and manage clients like a true project leadership expert, make sure to follow this framework every single time. And if you want more high-performance project management insights, tools, and real-world strategies for creative professionals, subscribe to Project It Right, like the video, and share it with someone who desperately needs to break free from revision chaos. Your creativity deserves structure. Your work deserves respect. And your process deserves to be protected. Let's master it together.